Hi, this is Paul with Cellular Labs, and I'm sitting here with John.
Hey everyone.
And today we're doing the next part in our series on how to manufacture and private label items for Amazon. In our last video, we talked about how to source items from China, which is definitely easier than what we're about to talk about today. But before we get into that, I think John had a question about private labeling.
Yeah, I was gonna ask, how does the private labeling process work? Like, can there be like three labels on the same product from all different sellers, or what's the deal with that?
So I mean, basically, like you have a manufacturer, and they're good at manufacturing. Typically, they're not necessarily going to be the marketing company. So you go and you say, like they make like we've been talking about water bottles, right? So they make a water bottle, and then you say, okay, here's my artwork, here's my logo, here's my brand, and everything, and then they throw that on there. Now, unless you have some type of exclusive relationship with them, they could go and sell that same blank water bottle to some other company, and that other company could throw their artwork on the water bottle, and then you would have one water bottle with your label on it, and then there could be like another water bottle with another label on it. But the good thing about it is on Amazon, they're going to be distinct listings. So even though they might look the same, they're going to have different brand names. So you'll see a lot of products like Ethernet cable, for example. They'll be like they're all the same, and most of them are made by the same company. They just have different branding. When you go into the grocery store, it's the same way. Like I'll use tortillas because I was talking to somebody about tortillas the other day. So there's a company called Mission that makes tortillas, and they make almost all the tortillas that you eat. They make tortillas for the grocery store, so like the grocery labels. They also make their own brand of tortillas, but they also make like Aldi tortillas, and they make tortillas for Chipotle.
Hmm.
And they just put they just give different labels. Now each of the different tortillas may have a different mix in it, so there are different qualities. But the point is that they specialize in making tortillas, and then they have other people that buy those tortillas in bulk and put their own label on them. So that's kind of what private labeling is. But instead of tortillas, we're talking about like water bottles or something like that. But the other thing is that last time we talked a lot about China, and I want to make sure that it's clear that you don't necessarily have to go to China. If you find a manufacturer in the U.S. that makes something, you can sure approach them and ask them to put your own private label on there
Okay.
as well. So it doesn't necessarily have to be China, but China is just ripe full of all these companies that are willing to work with you and make modifications, and it's just a good place to start. But you
Yeah.
can definitely look in the U.S. too, and then you can, if you're selling in U.S. markets, you can say "Made in the USA" on your listings and everything, and you're probably going to be better off
Okay.
for that. So that's the answer to the private labeling questions. Um, but if you want something that maybe you can't find out there, and you maybe approach a couple manufacturers and they haven't been able to make it, maybe in China or something like that, then you can begin the process of creating something unique for yourself. And I'm not an expert in this, just disclaimer, but I have a little bit of experience with this, and I just wanted to talk about some of the resources and the things that I know about this really quickly, to kind of follow up on this and jump into that. So right now, I'm just looking at the Wikipedia article for manufacturing processes, just to give you an idea of how big this category is. So you have these different types of things. Like you have casting, and you can read about casting here, which is one type of manufacturing process. You have molding, forming. These are just the different, and they have all these different subcategories of manufacturing. And machining, joining. So there's like several different things. We have all these different types of manufacturing here, and different subcategories of each of them. So that's a pretty big list, right? So one of the things I'm familiar with, we have someone that has a product that we work with, and they do injection molding. So if we go up to molding, that's in the molding section, and then there's somewhere on here we probably have something that says metal injection molding, and then you can also do plastic injection molding as well. So that's one way to create a product. And there's all these other ways too. So it depends on what you're trying to manufacture. But for like plastics, a lot of times you can basically, the way injection molding works is you create a mold from a machinist. So you have a machinist that actually creates a mold out of metal, typically, and then they make that mold, and then you take hot small pieces of plastic and you melt them down and get them hot, and it makes a liquid thing, and then you pour the liquid into the mold, and then the mold spits out your piece of product, whatever it was that you wanted. So sometimes you might need to like make a bunch of different molds if you're making like a complicated thing, and then they kind of screw together and become the whole product. So that's one thing that you could do. So it just depends on what you're trying to manufacture. And I'm going to step away from the water bottle side of things because I don't know exactly the process for that. But what you can do if you have something that you want to manufacture is there's a couple of options you can do. So one thing that's really starting to pop up a lot are these places called maker spaces. So this is one that's about to launch here in Athens, where Solar Labs is located, and they're called the Hatch, and they're about to launch a makerspace. And so they're going to have all the equipment there, and a lot of people, some of them that know what they're doing, on how to use it. And these places are really cool. You can go rent a table there, and you have like 3D printers and all this really cool stuff to kind of get a prototype out pretty fast. And there's a lot of people that are going to be rallying around you. So if you're really trying to make something unique and cool, then you might want to look and see if there's a makerspace near you. They're starting to get more popular, especially if you live near a big city. You might be able to find one. So that's a really cool option. The other thing you can do is you can look at some of these companies that specialize in making injection molding, like rapid injection molding. So a lot of times these guys these guys talk about parts and stuff like that. This is just the first thing I found on the internet. But these guys, what they do is typically they will 3D print an injection mold a lot of times, and then it won't be metal necessarily, but you can use that to like make your first run of products and things like that. And they can 3D print all kinds of stuff. So that's one way to get prototyping done and really get some stuff done with that. The other thing that you can do is you can go and hire yourself a product designer or industrial designer and get them to make a product for you and draw it out at least. And they can usually guide you through the process. This is like what they do. So this is freelancer.com, and this is just one website you can go to. And here I just typed in industrial design and product design, and then we're looking for people who have skills. Now these guys, not all of them are cheap. Like he's charging $45 an hour, but it's well worth it to get a professional that knows what they're doing to help you design your stuff. So these guys are typically going to use a CAD program, a computer-aided drafting program, and you're going to tell them, okay, I want to design this product, and then they're going to be able to draw that up in 3D plans for you and get it made, and then you can send that to whatever type of manufacturing process needs to be done, and they can usually help you and guide you through that product. So this is really just a function of money, basically. Like if you have the money and the resources, then you can find the professionals to help guide you through what you need to do, depending on what you want to create. And so you can take it to a makerspace, you can take it to a firm that specializes in this, or you can find a good quality freelancer. And I'm not recommending any of these websites right now. I'm just saying that these are some things that are out there for you to look at. It's just like we talked about before in the Alibaba video. You have to do your due diligence with any of these guys, read their reviews, check them out, and everything else. But here, these are people that claim they can do these things, and then it's up to you to determine whether they can or not.
Okay.
And that's really it when it comes to manufacturing. We're gonna have some more detailed blogs on manufacturing. We're gonna probably bring in some experts into the field of different types of manufacturing processes and some later blog posts. But just for this series, that's kind of how you get started. And if you're gonna go down this route, this is definitely a route you can go through if you have a little bit more cash. And you also can do things that are more unique, and you can even try to patent things, so then you don't have 100 other people trying to make the same thing that you're trying to create. But if you're just getting started, it might be easier to go with a more simple product and get started with that. So thanks for watching, and On the next post, we're going to talk about how to market some of these products once you get them created.